Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
Dance with me, you little toad.
This is episode 269, recorded October 2nd, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
I thought she was going to say dance with me, you little turd, I swear.
Oh my God, that would have been awesome. This is why I need a writer. Because that's funny, Chad. Brilliant.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, actress and YouTuber.
What's up?
And scatological expert. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm good. I am tired too, but it's
We're all
freaking October, so like it's
Yeah,
good. The month is good. I guess maybe that's why I've got a little bit of extra energy.
You guys didn't get hit by the storm too much?
We lost power for like a few hours, but that overnight, but that was it. Like we got lucky. I feel bad for North Carolina. Yikes.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, Bill, you were actually a little you're more west, right? So, but Chad, aren't you close to Asheville, kind of?
About 2 hours east.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Of Asheville.
I mean,
but yeah,
But they get all that.
we got rain. We got rain and wind, and that was about it. The power didn't even go off or anything.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Yeah.
But I got relatives in Boone who live on top of a mountain, and they were stranded for a while, but they live on a horse farm, so they're able to get off the mountain via horse.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but awesome. Yeah.
Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist, co-host of Decades of Horror, this, that, and the other one. How you doing, Chad?
Well, as far as Crystal said, I'm brilliant, so I'm going with that.
I am. I would.
It's true, though.
Last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and a published author.
All-around nice guy.
Ooh, all around nice. Well, that too. All around nice.
All around nice published author.
Expert in ways to kill vampires. And
Yeah. Hey,
I just had a script accepted to a film festival.
Yay!
Yeah, which is cool. Except, I guess if you go there, they might wave it in front of your face or something. But still, it's nice. And
they might wave it in front of your face.
I mean,
somebody will read it.
It's you.
Nothing sadder than a script that hasn't been made into a movie yet, but maybe.
All right. We are partnering with Play Now Media on several of their streaming channels. In particular, Decades of Horror of the 1980s is on Wicked Horror TV. So you can check us out there. You can pay for a subscription and see all of their content without commercials or ads, or you can just pop in there and watch it and get commercials and not have access to the premium content. Or I believe you can enter a subscription, give them a username and password without paying money, and that will allow you to save movies and stuff like that, to your list and pick up again. On this podcast, we start by giving some basic details of the film we are covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie.
Yes.
Then we do taglines, general discussion of whatever trips our triggers, and just talk about stuff in general. Now, those of you that are here expecting to see Without Warning.
Oh, yeah.
We had a last minute change. I noticed that Chad put Ghost Story on the schedule for his next pick. And I looked and went, holy crap, it's on Prime this month. And it hasn't been available to stream, by any subscription service for, since we've been doing this, I think. So it was some kind of a tryout or whatever. So we switched it. So Without Warning, we'll be doing that again. And we will be doing that in about 2 months. So have patience.
Well, you couldn't pick a film that was more unlike Without Warning than if you tried.
Yeah, no kidding.
Than this one.
So the movie we picked again is Ghost Story. Released in 1981, directed by John Irvin, written by Lawrence D. Cohen, from the novel by Peter Straub. Cast includes Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., John Houseman, Patricia Neal, Craig Wasson, and Alice Krieger. Production company, Universal Pictures. It was filmed in Vermont, New York, Florida, and California. Filming dates, they started filming on January 19th, 1981. I don't really know how long that lasted. A release date, 15th of December, 1981. There was a premiere, but the general release was December 18th, 1981. Budget estimated at $13.5 million. Domestic box office, $23,371,905. So I don't know.
Probably a profit.
Oh, yeah.
One would hope so. And the synopsis is 2 generations of men find themselves haunted by the presence of a spectral woman when the son of one of the elderly men returns to his hometown after his brother's mysterious death. They attempt to unravel her story.
She looks like such a baby there. Look at this. Sorry.
Well, and I put this picture up just because we have other pictures of her, but this is like, she is
crazy.
Absolutely gorgeous in this movie.
See, I just feel like she looks like she's 12 to me. She looks too young here.
Nope.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah. Cause she's,
what are you saying, Crystal? What are you?
No, she just looks, maybe it's just because
she was young here.
Yeah. Every time I see her, I'm not used to seeing her looking like a
26,
child.
I think, or something like that.
God, she looks like a child to me for some reason there. Well, obviously the truth is the cinematography is so different back then. Nothing is clear. Everyone looks better because
she was born in 54, so she was 27 when this came out. Might have been 26.
She looks so much younger.
Yeah, she does. Totally age appropriate, Jeff. See, don't worry.
I'm not.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to first impressions. So this is Chad's pick, I guess. So we're going to let him go first.
Okay. I love this movie. And it's funny the way I first heard about it. I read about it in Fangoria. But at the time I was like, Fred Astaire, what is it? All these old men in here. I'm not watching this. So it kind of came and went at the theater. And then I went to Universal Studios in Florida. And they had a special super duper makeup effects show there at the time. And
yeah,
I was like, well, I know Dick Smith did the makeup on this movie. Maybe he's there, or Rick Baker, or one of those guys. So I went in, and it was just one of those things where you sort of sit around this big amphitheater type thing, and they show you props that are already made up for, that they used in the movie or whatever. And they bring people up on stage and scare them. And they had the car in there with the ghost that was inside the car and stuff like that. It was a pretty cool little thing. So I said, this has got some pretty cool looking effects in it. So when it came around time to rent it, that's when I finally got to see it. And I think I ended up buying a copy on VHS at one point, but I don't think I ever found it on DVD or anything, or I'd never looked for it or something like that. But I love this movie. It has a gothic yet modern feel to it. And I love the conceit behind the Chowder Club, that they get together and they bring these ghost stories and spooky stories together. And I tell you what, when I die and come back as a ghost, I want John Houseman's ghost to come back and tell my ghost story, because I just love the way he his voice and the way he tells these stories. That must be why John Carpenter used him in The Fog at the beginning, because of his voice and everything. Loved it. I loved all the characters in it. I had not heard of Craig Wasson at the time. I know he went on to do Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. and I always thought he should be have been the next Freddy Krueger. He's got the same like facial features, I think. But this story was scary. It was creepy in some parts. Very atmospheric. You felt isolated in this little town, like it was just closed off from everything, and that gave it such a weird sense of a claustrophobic feel, and it just made it all that much more creepy. So Alice Krieger was amazing. I loved all the backstories, everything. The whole story was great. All my favorites were in there. Albert Whitlock's in there. What was that? Dick Smith. I can't remember. They're my favorites, but their names are escaping me right now. But yeah, love this movie. Always have, always will, and I love watching it.
Dick Warlock was a stuntman.
Was he?
Yeah, if that's who you may be going to. Crystal, how about you?
Okay, well, this is the first time I've seen this film, and so here's the thing. I liked it, but I found it kind of boring. And Gothic films are usually kind of my jam. You know, this is a perfect Gothic film, but yeah, I actually had a hard time paying attention. I enjoyed it, and I thought it was shot well, but it was boring. I was like, because it didn't have enough horror for me, I guess, or the horror didn't work for me, or there's something about it that just didn't captivate me. Like, like The Lady in White. That film, for some reason, captivates me. Like just the way it's shot or the storytelling. And it's crazy because I love the idea that Fred Astaire is in this film, and I think he's precious in that and everything. But I think I just found it. I think I found the story kind of annoying. Alice is amazing, and the lead actor is awesome. And I remember that lead actor in lots of stuff. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry, I don't remember any of their names, but because I was so young. But I remember him being in a lot of films, and I really liked him. But I enjoyed myself, and I'm glad I watched it. I just won't watch it again. But that's just because of me. Like, I was like, okay. I thought it was weird that you had this girl hanging out with these 4 dudes and stuff. Anyway, the whole thing's weird. It's like they were apparently college kids themselves, and considering the time period that I just found it unrealistic, because I was like, okay, so the time period that this was in, no one was saying, hey, this is totally inappropriate for y'all to be all hanging out and stuff. There was no one watching after. That's what's weirder. I mean, they did say no one was missing her, which is weirder. And how did she come from Europe and come over there and not have anyone whatever? I'm thinking too hard. But I thought that was weird. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the dingle dangle just out the window. That was kind of trippy. You know what I'm talking about?
Huh?
When he jumps out
Craig
the window.
Wasson fell out. Yeah, I didn't need
yeah.
Oh, that window. Oh, gotcha.
That was interesting and unusual. But
I was picturing a guy in a car with his dingle dangle out the window, trying to figure out how did I miss that scene.
I was like, you didn't miss it. I don't think anyone could. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again, and I'd like it more, because it's rare for me to just like a movie of this type and style. And I didn't dislike it. I just found it boring. That's worse almost. I was like, okay, pay attention. So I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not sad I watched it. I'm happy I watched it.
Nothing to be sorry about.
Sorry to y'all out there who love this film, because I bet you it's someone's favorite, and they're gonna be like, "You're so stupid." Brilliant.
No, they'll probably say they
Masterful.
understand.
I can already see Jerry Chandler pounding away at the keyboard.
Thanks,
I
Crystal.
hope so. Thank you.
Well, Bill, then, where do you stand on Ghost Story?
I'm gonna give Jerry some more ammunition to pound away. Okay, so here's the thing. I read the book.
Oh,
the
cool.
book, as I remember it, the book was about 500 pages. I could kill a child if you flung it at them. It was a big, dense book, with lots of cool stuff, completely unfilmable as a single film. There was not really that much about ghosts. I mean, it was called Ghost Story, but it was really about like a race of shape-shifting demonic type creatures. It was dense. There was a lot going on there, and it had a very interesting, it's one of those books you had to read. You had to devote a week to reading because their time flips around. Okay, just unfilmable as is. And they didn't really try to film it. They took the bare bones of it and came out with something. I'm sure Straub was not happy, but that's what happens when you write a book that's hard to film. I should love this film. I love the actors. I love the actors from non-horror stuff. I am not a big fan of musical comedies or whatever, but Fred Astaire is like magical. Fred Astaire, when you watch him dance, to me, it's like, is he like a superhero? He has control over his atoms. He danced with a number of partners and they're all phenomenal, but he's on like a different level. Yeah. He just seems not to be made out of bone and flesh. Just incredible. You can't take your eyes off him. Some people just have that gift. I love John Houseman. I love The Paper Chase. I love the TV show The Paper Chase. I loved his Smith Barney ads. He's got great style. And then you find out about him and Orson Welles and the history. A fascinating guy. Melvin Douglas, he was in so many things. And Douglas Fairbanks Jr., I think, is probably the weakest of the bunch. But I did like his swashbucklers from back in the day. I grew up at a time when all these movies were shown on TV, so I really got a crash course in this. So I like the cast. Kriega is in the book. She's more beautiful and a striking presence, but it's hard to be more striking than Alice Kriega. She's got
I think she's
a factor.
She just looks very young.
Yeah, she's got.
But still scary.
Look. Yeah.
Which is cool.
But here's what got me. Like Chad, I read the Fangoria articles. And I saw, some of the stuff, and blink and you miss them. You've got Rick Baker and Dick Smith, and okay, there's something to be said for just putting these things out in small amounts where they're more effective and everything. But it's a long slog in between seeing these great horror effects. Like they were almost embarrassed. And the one that I really wanted to see, they cut out the faceless ghoul. I have a picture of it, but it's like, why would you do that? This is it just killed me. And the one thing that really does take me out of it, watching it again, I'd forgotten how much I don't like the music. I mean, the music's got that Bernard Herrmann, really bombastic and everything, but that kind of undercuts what they're trying to do. The music is so loud and so over the top. It kind of takes away I wasn't scared once. I don't know. This is one of those things where sometimes a big budget hurts horror. Now, at the same time they were making this is about the same time The Shining came out. And it really seemed like, wow, horror is getting the big budget treatment. It's getting real directors and real cinematographers and all these good things. The Shining is still recognized as a classic, maybe more than it was when it first came out. But this one's kind of been forgotten. And I sort of see why. It's, I don't want to say anything bad about it. It's got a lot of good qualities to it, but it did not connect with me the way The Shining or a lot of other movies with a much, much less going for them, for some reason stuck with me. I'd forgotten so many things about this movie. Watching it again was almost like watching it for the first time.
Okay.
A couple of Mad Monster parties ago, a girl was walking around dressed as the faceless.
Oh, really?
Cool. Yeah. And nobody knew who she was except me because I remember. You. Yeah. But it was cool. I took a picture with her. I'll share it with you guys on.
That's great. Super
cool.
Effective.
So this for me in a way kind of fits alongside The Shining in that I love the books. And then when I went to the movies, they changed so much that I was just ticked off and didn't like them. Since I have come to love them. So I love this movie now. despite all its faults. And the biggest issue is exactly what Bill said. The book, in my view, is phenomenal. I mean, it's as impressive as it's one of my favorite horror novels of all time. And so I was super excited to go to this movie. It came out, we said December 18th, just before Christmas. I went to this with my brother and my wife and a couple of cousins on Christmas Eve. We were at my aunt's house and we wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. So anyway, it was a big event. It sticks in my mind. There's not a lot of times where I went to movies where there's something specific that I remember about when and where I was. But yeah, it cuts so much out of the book. And you're right, Bill, the book, there is no ghost in the book.
They're demons?
There's no ghost. It's like a shapeshifter / Manitou is what they describe it as. So she's not, the idea of her being a ghost that's out for revenge is totally different from the book. She's this thing that's been around we know it's been around at least since Roanoke, but probably in human history. But it can be killed. It can be physically killed. So she's almost killed when she sinks. They almost kill her. But she recovers and then comes back for revenge. And she comes back for revenge on the whole town. So
that's more fun. But that's
in the book, there's a big blizzard. The town is snowed in. They have no contact with the outside world, blah, 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 blah. So way different than this. So they had a lot of problems with this. And so they basically there's all these side plots and threads and things in the book that are all gone. And they took these two basic things of the two brothers and the four guys telling the story, and then tried to weave that together. And then even then, I think they were getting harassed by the studio to shorten it. And so there's just the barest minimum of connecting tissue and some of that stuff. I know it because I read the book and I'm watching it and I'm going, ooh, I bet that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and whatever. So, but I love it. I love having those four guys on there. It's the four older guys and Patricia Neal. That's another coup. There's so many Oscars in this movie all the way through in the crew as well. And then I love Alice Krige, and I just have loved her ever since. And we did a movie. Do you remember what the name of that movie was we did not too long ago? Was it called I Will? That had her in it? I'll have to look that up quickly.
The plot to the book sounds a lot like the Storm of the Century, the Stephen King teleplay that he did. And they turned
Stephen King is a huge Peter Straub fan. I think they made 2 or 3 books.
Yeah, they
together.
made a few books together.
She Will, that was the name of the movie, and it came out.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I do remember that. She's excellent in that.
Yeah. So anyway,
she made a good board too.
Yeah, she did.
So those are the reasons I like it, and we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about the effects later but there's reasons that studios. What can I say?
Yeah.
All right. Oh wait, we do this thing now. It must be time.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Chad Krige.
Yeah.
Oh my
must
God.
be time for Taglines with Chad. Played by Chad, his own self.
All right.
I didn't go digging either because I was running around.
Chad himself. Okay. She'll never rest until her tale is told.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's actually very true. Yeah.
The time has come to tell the tale. So sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Yeah.
And that's been Taglines.
That's it?
Chad's our hero, cool and rad.
with him reading taglines. They can't be that bad.
Thanks for stopping by.
And I forgot before when I asked
Damn.
Crystal for her opinion, I was going to say, what are your first thoughts?
I'm easy. I
Yep.
like poop. I like turds. I like turds and doo-doo and poop. Scream. Like I'm so unhinged.
I'll be happy to
doo-doo.
delete that if you
Like,
want, but I'll leave it.
No,
in.
no.
Better not.
Oh no, that's hilarious.
That's a cut from the last episode.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing Crystal has ever said in her entire life.
Me too. It's appropriate. This is why I'm like, don't trust me for sure on all of the opinions on movies because you can't be sure what you're going to
That's
get
right.
if I recommend it.
She likes doo-doo.
Yes, we were talking about movies.
Oh. Wow. See, I have never seen this. I've never even heard of this film until this. And that explains it. Because as a kid,
yeah.
I would have never, I would have passed that by
Right.
so quick.
There's a version of this with bigger letters
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Ghost Story.
Because
but
as
this
is,
the
boy,
standard one. Yeah.
they really blew the black toner cartridge on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the four
Wow.
guys, the four elder statesmen across the top.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I should do those two. I'll do them here now. La Fantôme
Wow.
de Melbourne, French
Okay.
poster, and that translated is Milburn's Ghost, which is the name of the town.
Those guys look like a barbershop quartet.
Yeah. It's,
Way to the sunshine.
Yeah, we had
state.
this very surrealistic painting, and then we put the
then
the Photoshop in there. Okay. In Italy, Story di Fantasmi, or Ghost Stories. In Mexico, Cuento de Fantasmas, which translated a ghost story in Google. And then these, I have no idea how to pronounce these, but in Sweden in Norway it was Gjenfødt, which means restored.
Those Swedes.
Which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
In Spain, Historia Macabra, the macabre story. In Sweden, Gengangere, which I know I didn't pronounce right, Ghost. And in Germany, when it was on TV, they called it Rache aus dem Reich der Toten.
Jesus.
Revenge
Okay.
from the realm of the dead.
wow.
I feel so
And-
enriched now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then Zurich bleibt die Angst. The fear remains. Makes no sense. But anyway, that's the French poster. And then this, I actually saw this in a foreign poster.
Oh, that's
version,
pretty.
But I like
Yeah.
that one.
Mm-hmm.
Still, they could have left those guys out of this one, and that would have been
Yeah,
a better-
but they're so faint. I mean,
Yeah,
I
know.
think that they were totally banking on those names. Like,
And three of those guys, not Douglas Fairbanks Jr., but Melvin Douglas, John Houseman, and Fred Astaire, it was their last movie.
yeah.
All right. So that's the posters. Now, the director was John Irvin.
Not
Good.
not a lot of horror stuff, but I love both of these films. Especially, I love Dogs of War.
I've got to
Christopher
watch that.
Walken
That's been
film.
years and years and years. I don't
Say hello to my little
I love
friend.
that.
kind of with Christopher Walken. You got to do the Christopher Walken
yep.
thing.
He
Uh,
did. He had it.
Yeah. Well, no, I
Yep.
was agreeing. So he got this because he had just done Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy
Mhm.
for.
I don't know it. This
Yeah.
is gibberish.
It's
to
a-
me.
it's
I'm
a-
like, yeah.
It was a 7-episode miniseries on the BBC that played on public
Okay.
television here. That's based on a Jean Le Carré spy novel.
Gary Oldman did a
Yeah.
remake of it. Here.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And
I love Gary
the
Oldman.
original starred Alec Guinness, which was, it's your basic Cold War spy thing, very dry, not tons of action, but lots of intrigue and manipulations and stuff. But anyway,
Ooh.
somebody saw that and said, "Hey, let's do this guy." So yeah, I don't see anything else. Hamburger Hill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, that's the different one. Next of Kin.
That was
Patrick
pretty good.
Swayze.
Yeah.
With Patrick Swayze and Liam Neeson and
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, I don't really see a cohesive thread going through all these, but they're all well made.
Robin Hood.
Raw Deal's fun. You know, it's a Schwarzenegger movie from that era when, you know, he just kills a lot of people.
No, that's fun.
Yeah. But they deserved it. They were all bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and then Peter Straub, he was a guy I loved. I think I have all his books. And we did another movie. We did a movie in the 70s that was from his book, Julia. That was his, I think it was his first horror novel or his second horror novel.
That was The Haunting of Julia?
Yeah.
That's the only other movie I could find. I thought there were others made from his books, but I think I...
No, and frankly, Ghost Story needs to be a miniseries. Anybody that's read Ghost Story, it would be a brilliant miniseries.
It sounds sort of like his Stand, The Stand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda, but it's 500 pages, but he weaves this stuff together so well. And I was going to go back and look because my memory was that the book started out with the Chowder Society all sitting around the table and getting ready to tell a story, and one of them said he couldn't. I think it was John Houseman couldn't think of a story to tell, and somebody said, "Well, what's the worst thing you ever did?" And he said, "I can't tell you that, but I'll tell you the worst thing that ever happened to me, the most dreadful thing." And that's one of those. To me, that was a great opening line for the book, and then you fold into the stories. And the guys in the story were named, like Sears James was named after Henry James, and the story he tells, which is left out of here, is sort of a takeoff of Turn of the Screw. And then Ricky Hawthorne is supposed to be Nathaniel Hawthorne. The other two don't really fit.
I want to read this now.
It's
me too.
It is a great.
It is a really good
I
novel.
could not put that sucker down. I got to go read it again. All right, Floating Dragon. That was a big thing. He had one in between Ghost Stories and Floating Dragon called Shadowlands, which is a very surrealistic, dream-like experience of. I don't want to say too much because it's been so long since I read it, but moving into sort of a shadow or dreamland by some sort of process. But yeah, great stuff. He died like 2 years ago. And then he co-wrote those two, The Talisman and Black House, with Stephen King. And there was talk of The Talisman being a miniseries.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I like Stephen King. I like Peter Straub. The two of them together, I'm not sure it really fit well, though I understand what they were going for. Stephen King has that very accessible style of writing, popular writer, and Straub is, kind of out there. I'm sure he appreciated the sales because, that was the time you put Stephen King on the cover and boom, million sales.
Well, Straub hit it big. Ghost Story was a New York Times bestseller. The two before that, one of them was Julia, and then the other one was If You Could See Me Now, which Julia was sort of your British ghost story, and If You Could See Me Now was a little more out front, a little more harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he did Ghost Story, he just decided to incorporate everything he could think of from ghost stories. And he literally didn't know where he was going when he started it. He just knew in general what he wanted to do. And he was inspired by Salem's Lot and the way that Stephen King was able to incorporate a lot of characters. And so that's what he wanted to try to do too, is put a lot more characters in the story, which he did big time. Anyway, my favorite book of his is he did this sort of loosely connected trilogy with Coco, Mystery, and Throat. Mystery is a phenomenal book. I couldn't put that sucker down. That was great. Anyway, so if you read 2 Peter Straub books, according to me, make it Ghost Story and Mystery.
I really feel like we've lost a lot, that we no longer live in a time when it was a big deal when a popular author had a new book out. You know, that would get a lot of attention. That'd be the cover story for Time magazine. Of course, we don't have Time magazine either.
I can tell you there have been some books that I have been anticipating. It still happens.
Oh yeah, but you're unusual. The public is not into reading much anymore. Sorry to say.
The latest Stephen King book came out. I had no idea he was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Had one coming out, and so you just don't hear about it anymore. You know, and
when I was at, and maybe I don't know when you were there, Chad, but when I worked at the chain bookstore, they talked about if you had a 2 Stephen King year or a 2 Danielle Steele year where they had 2 books coming out, then it was going to be a good year.
Yeah,
because they were going to drive people into the bookstore and they would buy other stuff. And
good luck finding a bookstore now.
Right.
Yeah, true.
That's crazy. Yeah. Like,
all right. I love Peter Straub as a writer. He's done a bunch of short stories. He's done stuff later on. The Hellfire Club is kind of an interesting book. So check him out if you're into that stuff. If you've never read Peter Straub, go for it. All right. Well, let's move to some of the actors. I'm going to put this one up first because the top picture is the Chowder Society.
That's such a weird name.
And actually in the book there was 5 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you've got Douglas Fairbanks Jr., John Houseman, Fred Astaire, and Melvin Douglas there. And then there's a shot of Melvin Douglas on the side, and who has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's such a different character. In The Vampire Bat and Old Dark House, he plays sort of a quippy, I don't know how to expand it, romantic lead, kind of almost. In the Old Dark House, him and the one girl end up sitting in that car through the rainstorm.
Oh yeah.
But he's excellent. So he's so these guys, I was kind of wondering about these guys because they were so old. He was 79 during the filming of this movie. And he died in August 81. So he died before the movie was released.
Oh wow.
Yikes.
I got to say, old people looked older back then.
Well, yeah. And yeah.
I think it was like
that old.
No, 79, now you see someone, they pass away, 80s or whatever, and they're looking like this. Christopher Lee looked like he lived to be really old. He looked it, but he was really old. I think probably they grew up. They grew up in the 1920s and 30s.
Our lives.
They smoked like chimneys,
a lot of smoking,
drank like fish. Yeah.
Well, and we're in the sun a lot as well. That's like one of the worst things.
He was the crappy old guy on The Changeling.
Yeah.
And it's weird how he went from, and I guess it's natural, but when he was young, he played these almost kind of happy-go-lucky type characters. And now when he got older, he was playing these dark, devious, he won 2 Oscars.
Oh, wow.
One for HUD in 1964 and one for Being There in 1980.
Oh, he was great in Being There.
And it came out in 79.
I like to watch television.
So
he was superb in that. Everyone in that movie's great.
All right. Anything about Melvin? I thought he was excellent in this. I mean, all of these guys had really strong emoting scenes that they really did well at. They were
Well, I mean, they're all
Yeah.
come on.
They
Yeah,
did.
I mean, they're like they're all like freaking legends, really.
They did a
Like,
lot
let's be
better
real,
than
they
their
all have,
younger
they-
counterparts.
Yeah.
yeah, they all
Right,
have major.
right.
I mean, like,
And
I
they
will
were
say, I could really, I felt a little bad because I was like, God, it does seem like they're having a hard time. A few of them had a hard time getting out some of the lines and stuff, and I was like, God, I'm really sad for them. And
I mean,
now it
they're
explains it.
playing
If this was their
themselves.
last film,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
practically, that makes me sad.
You know, the characters.
79 is not that.
No.
Look at those bags under those eyes. What did he do to himself?
He worked on a lot of movies where they used asbestos for snow.
Oh yeah, that
I
too.
mean, that was
Speaking
old
of
Hollywood.
which,
Woof.
they
That's
shot
rough.
this movie in January. They actually checked weather reports. They mostly Vermont and New York, and picked a time when there was the highest probability of snow. And they went there, and it was bitterly cold, and there was no snow on the ground.
Yep.
So they had to. They brought in 2 snow machines from Lake Placid that were there from the Olympics, the 1980, and so
Filled them full of asbestos.
did a ton of snow. But then they a big chunk of it was Albert Whitlock's map paintings.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, he's
Almost there's sometimes when that looked like they were walking. If they were walking on snow at a distance, it was a map painting.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
He was the best.
Oh, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. All the ones when they.
That's a lost art too.
By the way, there is a Blu-ray from Scream Factory that's still available, although it's like 8 years old, but they still have it. So anyway, yeah. So it was mostly. I don't think there was any artificial snow that I heard about. It was mostly man-made snow, and I mean, you know what I mean. It wasn't shreds of plastic.
Hey, if it's cold enough, you can make lots of snow. And I grew up learning to ski in the Catskill Mountains, and most of what we skied on was artificial snow, which is just packed ice.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Oh.
not really.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, hard too.
But if you learn to ski on it, and then you end up in, say, Denver with real snow, you're like, I'm in heaven.
That picture they showed 2 or 3 times to set the stage for that you're in the village. You know, you're looking down at this village. That was Albert Whitlock, 100%.
Beautiful matte painting.
The house when the exterior of that kind of ghost house that they show people walking up to, that was a matte painting.
Yeah.
The interior, of course, was someplace else, but anyway.
And first watch of this, you could not tell me that was not a real house.
I never thought about it till I watched the stuff on the Blu-ray, and they have a guy that was the matte photographer for Albert Whitlock was talking about him, and he couldn't have been more complimentary and impressed. And plus, he did a bunch of other stuff too that they wouldn't have.
Even when I first saw The Thing and the spaceship that was buried in the snow, I thought it was real. I thought it was part of a set, and it was a painting.
Magic of movies. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've mentioned several times Fred Astaire.
Yay.
Who I'll bet you can't guess. Don't anybody look. I know you're probably online. He was nominated. He won an honorary Oscar for his unique artistry and his contributions to the technique of musical pictures. So for dancing, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
In 1950, but he was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh God.
In another movie for Best Supporting Actor.
Towering
Rudolph the
Inferno?
Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, Bill knew it. Towering Inferno.
Oh.
Yeah. I just not why I would pick something, some dance movie, from the 40s or 50s is what I would have guessed.
I mean, that was one of those. I kind of hate it when they do this, but occasionally it's like this guy's not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And we should have given him an Oscar for all these things, but we didn't know 50 years ago he was going to be a legend 50 years later. Give us a reason to give him an Oscar. And that's fine, except he was fine in that movie, but the Towering Inferno was not exactly an actor's movie. There probably were some really good performances by supporting actors that year that got shuffled off. It's like, sorry, kid, it's not your year. It's Fred Astaire's.
Well, he didn't. He didn't win.
He didn't win. Oh, okay.
No,
Okay. Well, that's fine then. It's an honor to be nominated. That's cool.
Yeah, that would be cool though. Still, yeah.
But I thought he did too, and he, it was interesting to me how his character, the younger version of him,
can't dance.
Was this single? Yeah, I can't dance. Can't dance. Was this younger giggly guy, and when you come up here, he's sort of the he's settled into his what do you want to call it, second chair sort of spot with he's junior partner in Sears law firm basically, but it's like that's okay, but he pushes him when he thinks something's wrong. So
one of the Hollywood legends is that the scouting report for him, where they were like looking for actors and people to cast in movies, and the report came back: can't sing, can't act, can dance a little.
A little. He's amazing. I can watch clips of his dancing scenes in movies like forever. It's just amazing, the fluidity and the choreography is.
Yeah.
And Smith
John Houseman.
Yeah.
They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it. He was great.
The top picture is this movie, right?
Yep.
And the middle picture is The Fog.
The Fog.
And the bottom picture, he was actually more of a producer up until like early 70s. And was a producer for
It's cool.
Was he a producer on the War of the Worlds thing?
Yep, yeah, I believe so. He and Orson Welles, hell of a team. They had a falling out at some point. Hard to believe with good old Orson Welles.
Yeah.
That was sort of inevitable. That they had a very volatile relationship. If you're not listen, so just as an FYI, go look up on YouTube Orson Welles selling like
Paul Masson wine. Oh yeah, peas. That was
peas. And there's an animated version of it. They kept this outtake where he is just busting the balls of these producers that are trying to get him to do these ads for Mrs. whatever fish sticks and stuff. He is hating life. He doesn't want to be there. They forced him to be there because he had already spent the money that they gave him like 2 years ago. They finally tracked him down. It is the greatest thing. It is so good.
It is.
He was a nightmare to work. It's so talented, but dang.
Well, they actually, the director actually said, and I couldn't believe it when he said this, that they wanted like an Orson Welles type. They wanted Orson Welles for that role, Sears James. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? And then he said, but we decided we weren't sure what we'd be getting. So
I know what they were getting. Chad was talking about the other great ad. It's a bunch of outtakes where he's doing wine, and he's clearly getting drunker and drunker with every take.
That's awesome.
It's the best.
So hilarious.
I was thinking in the other one that he was sort of half sloshed, but maybe not. Maybe that was just him being mad.
I think he was just being a jerk. I love him though.
John Houseman was 78 at the time of the filming. And he won an Oscar for Paper Chase, the movie, 1974 Oscar, and was nominated as a producer for Julius Caesar in 1954.
Oh, the one with Marlon Brando. Great film.
Anyway.
Julius Caesar.
He's a great, his voice is almost, he almost plays like a caricature of himself almost. He's and then Douglas Fairbanks Jr. was Swashbuckler.
Yep.
Same mustache.
What did I just see that he was in?
Douglas Fairbanks Sr. was a movie star as well, right? In the silent era?
Yes, I believe so. Junior was born in 1909. Wow. So he was only 71 at the filming of this.
They called him the
Look
kid.
at him.
I watched a video the other day of John Mellencamp, and he's 72. and he doesn't look anything like these guys.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, he
these
looks.
guys look
I'm
rough.
71.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm-
you don't look. I know.
These guys look rough.
I think it's all the preservatives in our food.
Well, it could be,
Might
and
be.
and hormones, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it could also be the life they lived, and
Yeah.
you know, if you were doing movies that had a lot of smoke in it, or if you smoked a lot and drank a lot, that was pretty heavy duty.
But then, if that's true, shouldn't like P. Diddy look like the portrait of Dorian Gray? I mean, by this point,
well,
He probably has that
I
painting
mean,
in his closet. So.
like
yeah,
yeah.
He's
There we
not
go.
that old really yet, though. He's only like 50, right? He's like 50, like so he's
So,
old, but he's not old.
he's got a great future ahead of him, though.
Fairbanks does a great job, I think.
He's going to age a lot, actually, really soon. Watch.
Especially that scene when he goes out and is walking down the street in his pajamas out to the bridge.
Yeah,
he was really. I just thought these guys were great.
they were.
Yeah, I did too.
They were.
And then they started. You know, the movie opened. The pre-credits scene was, who was it? It was Fred Astaire, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and Melvin Douglas all having nightmares in their bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
John Houseman's character was pacing back and forth in his study in the middle of the night. So we know they're all having trouble sleeping. They're all having nightmares and having trouble sleeping before we even start the movie.
Can you explain to me why she waited this long and she just started to, mess with all these dudes? Like what?
No
why
idea.
didn't she come after him earlier?
I got the feeling that she had to find them for some reason because she went looking for the sons, and then she was like, "Where are you from?" And this and that, and he told her about the town, and so then she goes, "I want to go there. Let's go there." So I think she was looking for them somehow.
It's not explained in the movie at all, and I don't think it's been so long since I read the book, but I don't remember ever having the question. I think it's a make sense thing, like that Gregory Bates and that little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Gregory Bates is I think he's a shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm. Instead of just her,
he's already dead, and he's trying to pull the kid in.
Okay.
Anyway, in the book.
That makes sense.
There's a whole other thing. And in fact, when they went back in time to 1920, and remember when I think it's the one character is dancing with her and the other three guys, or maybe just the four of them are standing there looking at her about how beautiful she is. And the other two girls walk up and say something to them. The other
she thinks she's too good for us or something. Yeah.
That's a whole nother plot thread in the book. Those are the Nessie sisters, and they have a gratuitous demise, I guess, or a graphic.
That sounds
demise.
like fun.
As being older, I think they're the ones that own the house that had the hotel. She stayed in a hotel, and that was now a rundown house. I think they own their house.
More sense. Interesting.
Anyway. Now, the more we talk about this, the more I got to just pick that sucker up and start reading. I imagine I'd get so much more out of it than I did at the time. All right, then we also had Fred Astaire's wife is Patricia Neal,
the coffee lady,
who I feel like was in this movie a whole lot more and got cut out.
Yeah.
I don't quite get it. This director, I just wasn't sure about him because she had, let me read this. I copied this down because I wanted to make sure and get it right. She was a heavy smoker. She suffered.
Really, I couldn't tell.
She suffered 3 burst cerebral aneurysms while pregnant in 1965 and was in a coma for 3 weeks while pregnant.
Jesus.
She had the baby, and she survived with the assistance. She was married to Roald Dahl for 30 years from 53 to 83. and a number of volunteers who developed a grueling style of therapy which fundamentally changed the way that stroke patients were treated. So that was in 65. This director is talking about her not being able to do certain things because she'd recently had a stroke, but I could find nothing that said anything about her having another stroke, and she lived till around 2010 or so and died of lung cancer.
Do you think recent in his mind is 20 years before?
It would have been, yeah, it would have been 15 years before. So I don't know. Maybe she still had some side effects that bothered her when she was tired or something, you know. I don't know. But after I read his thing or saw his thing, I was watching and I saw no.
I mean, I didn't notice anything.
I didn't see anything.
She was a classy lady. We loved her in Day the Earth Stood Still, The Fountainhead. I mean, she also won an Oscar for HUD.
Oh.
And for Best Actress, and was nominated for The Subject Was Roses in 1969.
I wish somebody had filmed these folks just sitting at the craft service table having lunch and talking about stories from the old days, because that would have been hella great.
So,
yeah,
let's pop her up here, Alice Krieger. She said,
"Look at her."
When I found out that I was going to be in this movies with these people, I couldn't believe it. I was so thrilled, and that she and Craig Wasson, that every night they ate together at a big round table, and she said Craig and I would just sit there and listen.
That's right.
You know, it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. I learned so much from them. They were so on top of things and so well prepared and so polite and so caring and so open and so giving in their acting. She just absolutely loved it and thinks of things that she learned from them, you know, for her entire acting career. She just looked at this as just being like the biggest lucky thing that ever happened to her.
It's awesome. She deserved it though. She's super talented.
And Patricia Neal. She was a Patricia Neal fan as well. So even though she didn't have a big part, and they were there, you know. I don't know why it was shot that way, but it wasn't like somebody popped in for a day and shot a little bit. Although, so to go back to the effects, a lot of those ghosts. Well, let's talk about Alice Krieger. We'll talk about this later.
He keeps dangling that carrot.
I love that. I love that shot. That middle shot there.
Mm-hmm. I remember that did shock me. That was one of the few like real shocks in the movie when that happened, because I guess for whatever reason it seems obvious, but I didn't see it coming until and how quickly it went down and the horror of that. It's like, dang, you guys really.
Oh, so I want to point out something in the movie that is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. The dude actually in the past, the dude actually uses the word awesome. That is a flub. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were saying awesome in 1980, to be honest.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't know how to check this, but apparently they said that this is the movie that kind of started that. That awesome wasn't a word that was used. It was only used to describe like King Kong or something, and him using it started kind of fell into the vernacular. I don't know if it was this movie that did it or if it was something that was starting and they just incorporated it. But you're right. People didn't say that back then, but they didn't even say it in 1981. That wasn't a word.
I thought it came from the 80s. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, the Coke California.
Yeah. That was later. I thought my impression was it was like
maybe I don't know. I can't.
But anyway,
sure.
how would I?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It's like never gets to Iowa until like 5 years later. No, but that picture in the middle. So there was some telltales. You know, when John Jaffrey, Melvin Douglas character, who was a doctor, is having his nightmare. He's repeating over and over, she didn't have a pulse. There was no pulse. There was no pulse.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that said there was no pulse back in the day. Right. Yeah. So there was little things like that where they did connect the dots, but you really had to pay attention.
Well, they were all drunk.
Right.
He probably couldn't have felt a pulse if his life depended on it.
Right. He was probably checking her shoe instead of her wrist.
Yeah.
I mean,
but she's great. And the Borg.
Borg Queen. She is so good.
She's awesome.
That's probably where she's most famous. She's done some other horror stuff.
She does
a
a
cute
ton
little
of horror
movie,
movies.
The Littlest Vampire. She was cool in that.
Yeah.
She was in wasn't it a Stephen King? Wasn't a great movie, but it was one where they were aliens and cats hated them. And
Sleepwalkers.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She's the mom.
Crappy movie that was.
I loved it. I do not besmirch the name of the Sleepwalkers.
She's in the
fantastic.
She's in the Oz Perkins movie Gretel and Hansel. She plays the witch.
Hansel? Yeah. Hansel?
Gretel and Hansel. We have just so we know it's different from the usual.
Yeah.
The Little Vampire. Yeah, interesting.
It's cute. It's a cute little movie.
Did some Doctor Who stuff. Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Solomon Kane.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Very underrated.
Yeah,
and not seen by many people.
I saw it. Oh, she was in Deadwood. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. I love Deadwood.
She played somebody named Maddie. I'm trying to think. 5 episodes.
She was also in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah, you're right.
She played the mom of the. I liked this Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know a lot of people didn't.
The one on Netflix came on.
Yeah, the one about the social media influencers that want to solve.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
She did there was a miniseries in 2003 on Children of Dune, which was the third book in the Dune series, and she plays Lady Jessica Atreides.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's neat.
I don't know how many episodes were in that, and I don't remember seeing it. It was probably, I'm guessing it was BBC or Science Fiction Channel, maybe.
It's a possibility.
Borg Queen, of course, and Star Trek after Star Trek after Star Trek.
Do you notice how long Jeff's lingering on the Alice Krige stuff?
Yeah.
It's very obvious, Jeff.
I think I love her though. I think.
I do too. I told Chad that.
She's so talented. I've never seen her.
She has a
poor performance ever.
She has this air of mystique and fantasy, maybe, and kind of a dream. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just
it's like the way she carries herself, and
All right, and these are the boys from the flashback. I only recognize one of these guys.
I don't.
Yeah, the one on the far left, I've seen in a bunch of TV drama.
Ken Olin was
Ken Olin.
One of the leads in 30-something.
Yeah.
And then later went on to, I think he's director now most of the time.
Now, sadly, most of these guys are gone too.
Yeah, the one guy.
Really?
Yeah.
One of them died of AIDS, like in 87.
And I think 2 of them were killed in like accidents, like a motorcycle accident or something.
Wow. Jesus.
They ran head on into each other.
Oh.
Did they really?
No.
Okay.
Too soon.
Yeah, I should have known that.
Now I don't know where the name Wanderley comes from, but there was an Arkham House writer named Wandry. I don't know if it was played on that. Donald Wandry. Yes, he directed. Ken Olin directed 32 episodes of This Is Us, which was a big hit recently. As an example, so I recognize him. The other guys I did not recognize, and I guess there's a reason for that. And then the shot in the middle was actually sort of a flashback. She's dressed like she was from the 1920s, but she was standing in the middle of the road when Sears James left to go get a hospital or something. And so that was another thing. They didn't really bring this stuff up, but there was a big storm, and they did. It was too early for cell phones. And at one time they're sitting around the table, and Millie brings in the candelabra, because they didn't have any power. And then while they were talking, the lights came on. So that somewhere the story was in there that there was a storm that was causing problems, but they just jettisoned all that and got left with some traces, apparently. And then there's the picture in, and Sears runs right into her. And that was your typical, we're going to shoot that thing in reverse. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But imagine her. I wonder how many times they had to do that, because she's standing out there in the what they called bitter cold at dusk. Bottom picture is the boys. That's the one that Watson's character finds.
Mm-hmm. And her face is blurred out of it.
Yeah. Because she's a shapeshifter and she can make her face do that, although that wasn't part of this. A ghost can do that too, apparently. And here we are.
That's the exact look on Bill's face just then.
Yeah. What great looking man. That is some good stuff. I see. I feel like I see Dick Smith in that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And Rick Baker worked on this. These were great, but boy, they were quick, just quick. Like they were embarrassed to have horror elements in their horror.
Well, so the story that I've been putting off was the studio said there's not enough scares in here. So they sent Dick Smith back to make some more things, and then they went out and did these quick cut shots to scare people, to put those jump scares in. And in fact, the one at the end where she flips back her veil and puts her bony hand on Craig Wasson's face, Alice Krige wasn't even there. She'd already left and gone to London. So they shot him, and you can tell her face is not in the shot with Craig Wasson's face.
Just her hand, yeah.
Yeah, just her hand. Anyway.
Great stuff.
More movie magic, but yeah. And it just kind of feels like they just kind of made up a way to end it, you know? If we pull the car up, that means the ghost is out for revenge. But if we pull the car up and people know about her, then she won't feel that need.
Now she's like set free. I guess her story, it says her story, she won't, what the tagline was, she won't be whatever until her story is told.
Time to tell the tale or something.
Well, I think it was Fred Astaire who said we have to lay her to rest.
Yeah.
Right.
Because once they found, was it whose car did they find? They found one of the cars. He goes, now we have to lay her to rest. We have to save the boy. So that must have been part of laying her to rest, was the discovering of the body.
There was also a scene that was cut at the end, because it ends, I think, really stupidly. Like, she disappears and Craig Wasson is kind of getting up and he stops and looks, and he has this sort of look of amazement on his face. Then it just cuts to a shot of this town.
Yeah.
And then boom, credits. I felt like they were signifying something, and it wasn't there. And there was a scene that was cut where the little boy, Fenny, that was with Gregory Bape, that he was all curled up and laying on Eva Galley's headstone. And then when they zoomed in on him, then he gave a real feral look, you know, like he was going to be out for revenge or something. Anyway, but the studio
glad they didn't go with that.
So in general, they said they thought that the studio, they kind of messed with some of the edits when people weren't looking. They didn't think it was a lot, but you know, could have been a line here and there that helped explain some things. But this is great stuff. I think you can absolutely see him. And here's the the one that wasn't
That's
used.
the one that we didn't see. That's so awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Why would they not show that?
And she's bare. So like you'd have bare from the waist up with that head on there. It would have been.
That's so sweet. That's what the heck?
Yeah.
I believe that was one of the pictures they showed in Fangoria as well.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a cover or something.
Yeah.
It was they really pushed it. and I kept waiting for it.
Which that is the creepiest one out of the other four.
Yeah, and there's Dick Smith with the one on the bridge, I think.
That man was beyond his time. I mean, he was way ahead of his time as far as realistic effects like that, makeup effects.
He was so good at everything he did.
He was so great because he any techniques and secrets that he had, he gave them away. If anybody had he gave them away. You know, he believed in each artist having their own way and technique of doing things, but so it doesn't matter if they know how to do it or not. The artist part of them will make it different than what he's telling them. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though he gave them a secret, they're going to go and use that to their own artistic sensibilities and make it different. So he was never scared of somebody copying him or doing something like that. He was just
so good
trailblazer.
I'm still using his blood formula to this day.
Yeah.
She said that they did her face, her live face cast when she auditioned for the part.
That's
and then
weird.
Later, when they were doing the movie, she had to go down and meet Smith, and he did the live body cast in his basement. She went down in his basement to his lab, and she said it was amazing. There was all these live face casts of all these famous actors all around. And that she was just so impressed with it. And that he loved what he did, and he was such a pioneer and a master, and shared that stuff. So anyway, she really was very highly appreciative of having that job and working on that set with those people. The cinematographer was Jack Cardiff, who won an Oscar. The editor is Tom Rolfe. He was also an Oscar winner. And the production design and art direction was Norman Newberry, which is great. All the stuff they had in those houses and the way they laid out, like where the Chowder Society met, all the wood and leather and brass and stuff in there. Philip Sarde did the music, and I kind of liked it. Philippe Sarde, I should say. I kind of liked it. You didn't like it, but Bill. And the costume design was May Ralph, and that was awesome. I thought the costume design was great.
I agree.
They had a way of making her look slightly otherworldly almost.
There was a lot more nudity in it than I remember.
Yeah, that's true.
Me too. So yeah, Cardiff, I thought the cinematography was great too. So anyway, what else?
I love this movie. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I think we talked about it before, but nostalgia plays a big part in it. I liked it as a young guy, a young kid, and that plays a big part in me liking it now. I just learned to love it more and more each time I saw it. But I can understand why somebody might not dig it, because it can get a little tedious and boring at some point. But
there's a lot of time spent on developing that relationship between
the guys and her.
Yeah. But I think it's worthwhile, because you see that side of her where she's so appealing, so friendly, so agreeable and laughing and fun-loving, and then
it just turned into disgust.
With
the four of them, and especially to Ned. Was it Ned?
Yes.
Character Ned.
Yes.
She was really angry with him because he wouldn't acknowledge the fact that she'd begun this relationship with him, and he just told him basically when he went back and told the rest of them about it, it was pretty lascivious the way he told them. Like, it wasn't romantic at all. Like, it was more like kiss and tell type of thing. And she felt different about it, I think. So when he didn't take up for her You know, that's what angered her a bit. So then she just became disgusted with a lot of them, and ended up getting her head conked in because of it.
I forgot Alice Krieger was also in Silent Hill.
Oh yeah.
We back on her again, Jeff. This is getting.
Yes!
I'm scrolling through the info here.
Oh
To see
my
if we
God,
missed
that's
anything.
I
I thought
hilarious.
Crystal was a Silent Hill lover.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Silent Hill. I forgot. I totally forgot that she's in that.
The houses that they found were in Saratoga Springs, but the village scenes were in Woodstock, the outdoor stuff.
Is there anything else about Alice Krieger we need?
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Got any
I love her.
frame grabs?
I love her. Yeah.
No, I get it. Like I mean, she's special. Mm-hmm.
No, I do too, Chad.
I better change my name while I still have a chance.
Again, it's a movie. It's a movie from a book that I absolutely loved, and when I found out they were making a movie, I was so excited, and I went to it in the first week, even went on Christmas Eve, and then went, what the fuck, you know? The book has this there's like a wasp or a moth or some intermediate stage of something that keeps showing up. That's her, and that the shapeshifter does. It has nothing in here. Anyway.
I guess I would feel the same way if the book is that different from the movie. I would feel the same way if it was that
and at the same time, you know, and obviously
it has its own charm.
In hindsight, there's no way you could put all that stuff, and they all said that. Even Peter Straub said you can't.
Yeah,
but it does need. I think it would be a great miniseries, but it may have passed its day by now. I don't know. We got to put the bug in the right ear, I guess.
Right.
All right, that's it for Ghost Story. I'm glad we finally got to do it. And Crystal, I don't know if you probably don't even know this, but we've been watching for this for the entire.
I did not know this.
Doing 80s. I have. I kept looking it up, and it was always pay-per-view, and finally it was on Prime.
You just keep checking it. Did it just come on?
Yes, and it's listed as being a like a promo special or something.
Oh,
like sign up
might leave.
And get and look what you know. My guess is it'll drop off pretty quick.
Well, I'm glad I saw it.
All right,
Halloween steak.
That's it for Ghost Story. Feedback, not a feedback. Episode 246, Nomads, from Travis McDonald. Bill. Like that one has your name on it.
Oh. Travis says, Nomads had potential, but the director just couldn't get the cake to rise with it. The movie isn't very linear, and it made me feel like I had acid reflux.
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
And I totally agree about the generic punk look movies constantly portrayed during this era. In particular, the umpteen Italian road warrior Escape from New York ripoffs.
Yeah.
But if you love bad Italian exploitation, I highly recommend The Raiders of Atlantis, a movie so bonkers it makes Extro look like Casablanca.
Oh my
you guys are the best. Take care. So why would you inflict Raiders of Atlantis on us if we're the best?
He's one of the ones that suggested Extra.
Well, so we know he can't be trusted.
All right, and Bill, you want to skip reading these? I mean, you're.
Oh no, go ahead. It's all right. It's all right.
Well, I mean, you don't have to read them if you're having trouble.
No, I'm trouble breathing. Yeah, go out.
All right, episode 267, Death Ship, from Robert Baker. Crystal.
Yes, the best thing about this movie is the ship itself. But that has always made me wonder if the problem was the filmmakers had access to this location, but didn't have a clue how to use it. That's actually a really good point. Because sometimes they do make stuff based on what they have access to. Sometimes that's a smart way. The cast is good. The concept is good. But the execution couldn't have been more off. Everything just happens with no explanations. And the German dialogue with no subtitles makes... I totally agree. That irked the poop out of me. makes sense with everything else in makes no sense with everything else in English. But that said, I have known people who really like this movie. My own reaction is I remember the great poster art more than the movie itself. Burn.
Yes.
That's
True,
all
though.
That's all true.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks, Robert. And from Lone Wolf on Death Ship, Chad.
Oh, Lone Wolf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lone Wolf says, Tubi was my first experience with Death Ship, and as the so-called terror began, and I'm using Dr. Evil's quotation mark gesture as I say that, I sat there thinking, if only Richard Crenna called Rambo, this would be all over. This film stinks. Not even the nice George Kennedy can save it. Not even Nick Mancuso, who spent his previous time fighting bats while on peyote, can't save this movie. It drove me crazy. This was definitely a one-time watch for me, and I hope it sinks to the bottom of the movie ocean, never to be seen again.
Wow.
All right.
Lone Wolf, you're a person after my own heart.
Yeah. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, for some reason, this just popped into my head. Have you guys seen Triangle?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. That's
Triangle's
amazing.
good, though.
That's an amazing
Triangle's
on a ship.
better than
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
If you haven't seen that, Bill, you should see it.
Okay.
It's trippy. I don't want to give anything away. I kind of want to tell you something, but you should watch it.
There's
real.
no Nazis in it.
No, there's not.
But there is a ship.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, out. Let's see. Episode 268, Prom Night. Again, from Travis McDonald, 6576. And we're back to Bill again.
Prom Night had potential, but the movie is just slow and boring. Jamie Lee Curtis does stand out in this, but it's just not enough. In regard to Anne-Marie Martin, she co-starred in the short-lived TV show Sledgehammer, which spoofed Dirty Harry and other hard-edged police shows and movies of the era. She was quite the looker and was great as the show's sidekick, but after the show was canceled, she retired from acting. I had no idea she was involved with Twister. You learn something new every decades of horror episode.
Aww.
Also, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with the group's praise of The Fog. I think along with Starman, it's John Carpenter's most underrated film. Keep up the great work. Best wishes. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Best wishes to you too. And we learned stuff from you guys.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I knew she was in Sledgehammer. I knew it was kind of a spoof, but I didn't know that anything past that. So appreciate that. And then from Wealth Actually with Fraser Rice, 1873. I'm not sure you need a number on the end of that one, but Crystal.
A must for any slasher completionist, but not a great film or movie. After an unnerving opening, it takes every bit of 50 of its 82 minutes to get going. The director probably sensed he'd better hurry up, so the last 20 minutes ratchet up the intensity. The payoff at the end is pretty good with literal murder on the dance floor. Yeah. And Jamie Lee Curtis sensing tragedy when she sees her brother's eye. Is that her brother? I didn't realize. Oh, the girl's brother. Yeah.
Right. Character's brother.
Sorry, that just messed me up. I was like, wait, okay. However, Prom Night commits the ultimate crime of wasting the opportunity for Leslie Nielsen to say, I am serious and don't call me Shirley. Thanks, Grue Crew.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Thank you, kind sir. And there's a couple short ones for Prom Night. Chad, you want to take those?
Sure. Emulus79 says...
Just take the rest of them. There's.
Oh, okay. Emulus says, yeah, this film was boring as bollocks. I think I had it on VHS and gave it to charity. That wasn't very charitable of you. Might cure somebody's insomnia, I suppose.
We'll see. There, he was thinking of him.
Yeah. James Harris says, Crystal has a perfect witch laugh.
I do.
Think the witch from Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, or Witchy Poo from HR Puffin.
Oh, wow.
Y'all don't even know. No. Like I'm not going to do it right now because it gets super loud. But like I have multiple ones. It just like depends. Yeah, I have like, and
collect the whole set.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen the witch on the Bugs Bunny cartoon, right?
Yeah. Brunhilde.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep.
She jumps up in the air and there's bobby pins.
There's bobby pins. That was the best. Yeah.
She's the
Yeah.
one from the Hansel and Gretel cartoon. Hansel?
Yes.
Hansel? If you ever saw that one. Anyway, Jose says, prom night. I saw this when I was working at the video store in 87, and I only remember a couple of scenes. A few years back, I found a copy of the Blu-ray, which supposedly looked fantastic, and yet I haven't broken the seal. It's in my Halloween stack this year, however, so that crime will be set right. It's probably be a crime to do that. You should just leave it wrapped up in its wrapper.
At this point,
leave it there. I remember seeing Leslie Nielsen on David Letterman one night, and he had his whoopee cushion. Every time he'd shift in his chair, it would go off, and he just sat there deadpan and not acknowledging it until Letterman asked him for it, and he just looked down and shook his head no, and the audience was in hysterics. He had that thing everywhere.
I gotta look for some of them.
Yeah.
That sounds so funny.
And he cracks up. He's deadpan at first, like, yeah, I farted, so what? And then he's like, we just thought that was so funny. I get a kick out.
And he's like, no.
Like Crystal. I like poop, farts.
Yeah.
Doo-doo.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good man right there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jose, James Harris, Emulus, Fraser Rice, Travis McDonald, Lone Wolf, Robert Baker, and Travis McDonald again.
Yay.
Appreciate it, guys. Keep the comments coming, and everybody else, please. We'd love to have you leave us comments. You can leave them on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send an email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. We also have a Patreon channel, and for just a few dollars a month, you'll get Decades of Horror, usually the day after we record it, which is usually 10 days to 2 weeks before it goes live to the public. And we are now doing Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the TV series. One episode per episode, I guess. One episode at a time. We are up to, I think our next up is episode 13. So we're getting there out of 20.
Our lucky number.
I think we'll finish in January, and then we'll have to find another one. But that's not available anywhere else. So sign up for Patreon. All right, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up is one chosen by me. Originally, it was chosen by Crystal, but it dropped off the streaming service before the date that we were scheduled to record. The Blob, 1988, has popped onto Peacock, and I just saw today it's also on Paramount Plus. So probably I'm guessing for October at least.
And our special guest, Kevin Dillon.
Oh, yay!
No, these are confirmed now. I've got these confirmed. Our special guest will be Ralph Miller.
Okay, cool.
We've had on
of course,
before.
we love Ralph. Yes,
and Jeff Farley, both of who worked on the effects on this movie.
Wow,
Jeff's a great guy too. Yeah,
sick. That's awesome. It's gonna be super sweet.
I was hoping for Kevin. I was hoping for
Jeff. May be the one person on earth who loves stop motion animation more than I do.
Well, but I also. And they worked on different parts of the movie, so it's not going to be. We should get differing viewpoints.
Are we going to have a fight each other?
Who was that? Who was the woman in the Blob? I liked her a lot.
I don't.
I can think of her name.
She's no Alice. She's no Alice Krieger, but she's pretty good.
Yeah,
she was in Becker later on. Shawnee Smith.
Shawnee Smith.
Oh, Saw.
Yeah.
Saw.
Oh yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah.
All righty, folks. I guess next 2 weeks, and that'll be our close to our Halloween episode. That'll come out on like the 28th. So I think we got good stuff going for October.
The Blob's perfect.
Yeah.
Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only Decades of Horror can do it. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks, Bill. Please, Bill, take care of yourself.
I will.
Yeah, Bill. Seriously.
Got some medicine heading my way.
And Chad, guys, I love it. I appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Mm.